here to get the conversation happening. So again, guys, as you come in to the chat, make sure you say hello. Let me know what's on your wrist today. I am wearing my Christopher Ward C65 Trident Diver because this watch was bringing me a lot of luck during these previous during the knockout rounds in the Champions League here for Spurs. Thought it would bring some luck today. It did not, unfortunately. So yeah, Tottenham losers today, but like I said, I was super stoked that they even made it that far into it. Because I mean, I honestly didn't think that I would see Spurs play in a Champions League final in my entire life. So even getting to see that was pretty cool. Ricardo, what's up, man? Yeah, I mean, it's the handball. If you guys didn't watch the match, there was a handball like 30 seconds into the game that completely changed the complexion of the match for both teams, and it actually was a pretty dull game up until the last 15 minutes or so. So like I said, I knew I was going to do a live stream tonight. What better way to help me forget a brutal loss for Tottenham than to talk watches with you guys, or whatever else you want to talk about as well. But yeah, like I said, so C65, because that had been bringing me some luck. Ricardo, what do you have on today, sir? I'm curious. Alcohol helps always. Yeah. Flip and Zippo, what's up, man? Thanks for coming by. I will partake in the libations later tonight, most likely. Paris Pat, hello, man. First time I've seen you in one of these. Seamaster Aquaterra 2918, very cool, very nice. Ricardo wearing the metal G-Shock today. Not a surprise. I know that's one of your favorites as well. But yeah, so like I said, if you guys have questions, if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, watch-wise or anything else-wise, let me know. And by the way, if you guys don't follow Ricardo's one of the folks behind Watch With Us who I collaborate with. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ricardo, you're usually also manning the helm on Instagram for the channel as well. So usually if you see a picture on the Watch With Us Instagram, it's probably from Ricardo. Lately, he's been rocking some Bulova jewelry. Apparently, Bulova is extending into jewelry now. So Ricardo's been rocking some Bulova bracelets that he has gotten from those guys. So, like I said, lots of cool stuff there. And still, like a lot of stuff, you're doing a pretty good job at trickling out the content from Basel World. Needs better audio quality. Yeah, the live stream was a test. Actually, the live stream was better than most. The thing with Watch With Us is that it's a lot of guys that have never done this before. So like one of the things like for my channel, even though that I've only been doing this channel for a year and a half now, is that the audio quality for me is pretty good because I've been podcasting and doing content creation for like 6 years before this. So I already had a lot of that stuff. I already knew like the behind the scenes stuff about it, like the video editing and stuff like that. I've had to kind of teach myself, but for the most part, the audio part I had down and just the good camera work. But like guys like Chris Vale, Vale's a watchmaker. He's not a content creator. So for him doing this, he doesn't have that knowledge, that know-how. Ricardo says I need to share my setup. Yeah, I probably do. maybe I'll get together with John and help him parse that stuff out. And the thing is, like, it's not like my setup is crazy or anything. It's a pretty modest setup actually by most means. But and like I said, it's something that you learn over time. There is no manual to making a YouTube channel or making a podcast or anything like that. It's just kind of learn as you go and kind of do it. So, and yeah, like I said, it's awesome content. Like I said, I think the cool thing with Watch With Us is it's been a pretty diverse amount of content as far as the different areas of the industry that we have gotten to cover so far. So that's been a really good time, and like I said, a good group of guys to do that with. If you guys are Flip and Zippo, what are you wearing today, man? What's on your wrist during this live stream that we're on right now? And again, guys, if you have any watch-related questions, let me know. I know there's been some Christopher. It's been a little bit since we've done this. There's been some Christopher Ward releases. I know Swatch Group did their event, though I admittedly I didn't really follow it that much. I saw the Seamaster chronographs. The Hamilton Interstellar, nice, man, nice. Like I said, that one I almost bought that a couple of years ago when I got the Hamilton khaki field. I was debating between that or the Interstellar as well. Now is it the actual Interstellar watch, or is it the Murph that you have? That I'd be curious to know as well. I haven't met anyone that's had a Murph yet. I haven't seen one out in the wild since they released those a few months back. What else has been going on here? So, like I said, you guys saw the unboxing video that I did. The C65 Trident GMT, the Pepsi is in. We also got this Spinnaker Rec that Spinnaker actually sent into the channel. So thanks to those guys for checking that out. This is an interesting little watch. And again, if you haven't watched the unboxing video, check it out. So Spinnaker made kind of like a themed watch. So the watch is purposefully distressed, and I'll try to hold up to the camera so you guys can kind of see the bezel is faded in spots, and the metal on the watch is sort of distressed. And so it's an interesting concept that they're going with. It was the most interesting watch that I saw on their site because they let me choose the one that I could get sent into the channel. So this is the one that I chose. So I've had it on the wrist a couple times. I will say it's a 42 millimeters. One of the other reasons I chose is because this is actually one of the smaller watches that Spinnaker sells. And it's a 42 millimeter width, but it is pretty tall. I'll try to hold it up so you guys can see the height of the watch. It actually wears really large so far. That's one thing I haven't enjoyed about it, but it's an interesting watch. Like I said, I'll have it for a couple weeks. I know that my plan this coming week, so next weekend, next Saturday, I hope to have the review of the Notice Avalon completed for you guys. That's a watch I've really been enjoying so far. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you've seen a few pics of that as well. Really excellent watch. It's a review that I'm really actually looking forward to doing. Just a really cool watch. So Ricardo says, a horror story, bought a watch from Joma Shop, GMT, which if I'm not mistaken, I'm assuming was the Stratina that you showed me, if I'm not mistaken. And the hand wasn't aligned, and you were afraid to send it back, and your local watch guy messed up the movement and scratched up the case back. That sucks. That really sucks. Now, I get why you didn't want to send it back to Joma Shop. I've not ordered anything from Joma Shop, but they're obviously much discussed in the watch community. Of course, you know, the running meme, of course, is Joma Shop legit? From what I understand, their service, like when they service the watch, is pretty lengthy and not great. How misaligned was the hand that it was bothersome enough that you wanted to send it back? Like, was it off by, you know, like was it way off, or was it like just slightly, you know, forward or backward? Because I know that on my Sky Quest, like it's not inch perfect, but it's like just ever so slightly off, and that doesn't really bother me that much. Yeah, I figured it was the 13, and I assumed as much. But yeah, so like I said, I understand why you might not want to send it back to Joma Shop. It just stinks that your regular guy didn't do it, and I guess that's one. I guess it's someone who's much valued that you sent it to, and they still messed up the case back and movement. So that's unfortunate. Oh, 15 minutes off. Yeah, that's pretty significant. I can understand when you do that. So now I'm curious, is Joma Shop, would they repair it now? Like, would they cover that under their warranty, or since you popped the case back off, would they I guess they might not cover that now just because you had somebody else look at it. That really sucks though, man. That's really that is a bummer. Like I said, if I knock on wood, I haven't had anything like that happen to any watches that I've picked up yet. So that would be, I know that'd be pretty crushing for me. I'd be pretty upset about that if something like that were to happen. I will tell you guys too, I'm on a huge GMT kick right now. You guys probably noticed because the last few watches that I bought have been GMT watches. I mean, it's my favorite complication. Even though I don't travel that often. it's still, I don't know. For some reason, I just find the complication incredibly useful. I do have friends that live on the West Coast of the U.S., so being able to, know what time it is out there is helpful, especially if I need to get a hold of them for something along those lines. So yeah, the GMTs, and for some reason, like I don't know, I just really enjoy it. It's an irrational love of GMT watch that I have here. Ricard says it's now with Swatch, and you're probably gonna have to pay $180. Look, man, I mean that's could be worse. I mean, still considering what you saved buying the watch from Joma Shop, you're still coming out pretty good. And hopefully if you're lucky, they'll probably replace the case back as well, or at least maybe polish out the scratches or buff out the scratches that are in it. So I mean, like I said, all told, and so that's the thing. I'm probably one of these days I'm going to do a gray market video, because the gray market is an interesting thing. And really, like, there's nothing wrong with the gray market. It's just kind of like you have to, like, everyone has a price that they're comfortable buying from the gray market from, and like when you exceed that price, that's where it gets a little hinky. So, and yeah, Flip and Zippo, if you buy from Joma Shop, you don't get a manufacturer's warranty. Just because, like I said, Joma Shop is a gray market dealer. They're not an authorized Swatch dealer, or frankly an authorized dealer for anyone that they sell. So yeah, the manufacturer's warranty is out the window if you buy from Joma Shop. So you can use Joma Shop's warranty, which is probably not the best. Cape Cod cloth, yeah, like I said, unless you want the polishing done. Paris Pat asked me, do you still have the manual line Christopher Ward C65? I'm wearing it on my wrist right now, as a matter of fact. I do still love this watch, and I've been it's funny. So I was worried that when I got the Trident GMT, and even though I just put out the unboxing video for the Trident GMT, I've actually had it for a couple of weeks. The video I wanted to delay because I wanted to wait for the Spinnaker to come in and just release them together. So I did think that if I got along with the Trident GMT, that I would not want this one anymore, because so far what I've discovered about myself as far as collecting is I don't like a lot of overlap in my collection. I don't like having really super similar looking watches or style watches in my collection. And so, like I said, that's why I said when I got the Trident GMT, I was like, well, if I like this watch, I could definitely see myself selling the C65 at some point, which I never would have thought when I first got the C65, because I wore this thing incessantly when I first got it. And now I still find myself going to it frequently, and it's been different enough. Like, even though they come in the same case and they're very similar, they've definitely been different enough to warrant keeping both of them. And yeah, and it's funny that you say that you might buy one and use it as a dress watch. If I'm wearing blue, like if I'm wearing a blue shirt or a blue jacket, this is my de facto dress watch. Like, I don't actually own a dress watch, like a proper dress watch per se, but because this thing is so thin, and because the bezel is really thin on it, it doesn't have that thick diver's bezel like normal, dive watches do. You can absolutely pull this off as a dress watch if you want to. It hasn't bothered me one bit as far as that goes. So yeah, I think at least for the time being, I can't see this going anywhere. Because I've just been enjoying it too much. And again, it is different enough than the GMT that I feel it's okay to keep both of them. That might change. Actually, it's funny because I need to do I've almost had this for a year now at this point. We're about 2 weeks away from owning this watch for a year. So I want to do kind of like a follow-up to my original review that you guys may have seen me do before with some other watches, where, I talk about what it's been like having the watch for about a year's time. But yeah, so like I said, and like I said earlier in the video, if you missed it, I was wearing this watch for all of these Spurs match days that were happening before, because it was bringing me good luck. It didn't bring me good luck today, but it got us to the Champions League final, or at least that's the story that I'm going to roll with, and that I'm sticking to, because like I said, it's a London company, it's blue, so perfect for Tottenham, and that's why I did that. So Ricardo asks, once my thoughts on the Vario Empire. So you'd sent me this watch, and I had I remembered I checked it out. Now I do really like this style. So if you guys have not seen the Vario Empire, it was on Kickstarter, funded successfully. I think they have an Indiegogo campaign going on right now. So this is an Art Deco style kind of dress watch. It's got a very throwback design. So it's got it's got a textured inner dial. It's got skeleton hands on it, which is pretty nice. It has a Miyota hand-wound movement by default. You can upgrade, and it's weird saying it this way, but you can upgrade to an NH38 automatic if you want to, because they got enough support during the campaign. So I like the style of the watch. I think it's a good watch. I'm flipping through, so it's 38 millimeters, so it's a nice size, especially for a dress watch. It's actually really thin too. Even if they put the Seiko automatic movement in there, they're keeping the thickness down under 12 millimeters, which is nice. The straps look really nice, so they're pretty cool. It's a pretty cool watch, like I said, and especially if you want a dress watch. And correct me if I'm wrong, Vario has been around for a little bit as far as like a micro brand or as a smaller brand. So they are. It's not like you're buying from some company that's just coming up for the first time. Looks like a pretty small turnaround on the watch. And if you got in on the Kickstarter campaign early, you caught it for a pretty good deal, it would seem. So I thought about it for half a second. I ended up not really worried about going on the campaign just because I've thought about buying a dress watch. I can't justify buying a dress watch because I would never use it. It's the occasions that I have to actually get properly dressed up for stuff is so few and far between now. Like most of my friends have been married already. So it's like, that period in your 20s where it gets married every summer and you have like 3 or 4 weddings to go to. That part's gone. And again, I just don't have occasion to get dressed up. I don't need to wear a suit to work. So it's, so I can get by with this. And I use my Sal Baltimore as a de facto dress watch sometimes as well if I need something with a black dial, even though that one's a little large and is a little bit more ostentatious for a watch. Yeah, Vario is an accessory brand. So I'm going to Google Vario in terms of who they are, because I could have sworn I've seen watches from them before. Oh, they made watch straps. Okay, that makes way more sense. So the Deco is their first watch then. Oh no, they did make a watch before. So they had the Vario Eclipse as well, which is another hand wound dress watch that they had in like 28 different varieties. Apparently, if I'm looking at their website, most of them are sold out now at this point. They also carry a couple straps and stuff like that. So I think that's where I've seen them before. That I've seen their straps around before, which is probably why I'd heard of the brand previously. So yeah, like I said, you sent it to me. It looked interesting, and I'm always down for a hand wound watch. I actually if you give me a choice between a hand wind and an automatic, I would just take a hand wind, honestly. If I had the choice between the two. I've really enjoyed having the hand wound Christopher Ward. Something cool about winding that up. And also for some reason it feels like, and again, limited experience, like ones that are manual only, for some reason to me have a different feel than than automatics do. And that probably it's probably a consequence of the rotor being on the automatics and the winding being a little bit different. But it always feels different to me for some reason. So hey, I see the numbers tick up again. If you're coming in to the stream a little bit later, say hey in the chat. Let me know what watch you're wearing on the wrist. Again, C65 Trident Diver from me. And again, if you guys have any questions, fire them off in the chat. I'm happy to answer them, or just to talk about whatever you guys want. So I see, Ricardo, you're tripping over your keyboard a little bit today in the chat down there. The Java, what's up, man? You have the Long Jeans Conquest. Very cool, man. Awesome. Thank you for stopping by again, man. Always appreciate you coming in on these. And again, I'm going to try to get back to doing these more frequently. I was doing pretty good there for a while, and then what was it? May was a really busy month for me at real work, so that kind of got me off my live stream regularity. So like I said, I'm trying to do these every 2 weeks. So and hopefully we'll get a regular day into the mix, so you guys can have a better schedule to hopefully get a little bit better turnout for you guys as well. Real work does suck, Flippin' Zippo. You are correct about that. It absolutely does. That's why I'm hustling so hard on the side, man. Maybe one of these days we can make the side hustle the real hustle and do this for a living. Because I'd much rather do this for a living rather than do what I do for a living right now. So that's what I'll say there. So again, guys, if you have any questions, if you have any topics you want to discuss about, or if you have any topics you want to discuss, I should say, let me know in the chat down below so that we can talk about it, keep the stream going for a little while longer here today. Making watch traps is a fun side hustle. I don't have I would not have the patience or the skills to make watch traps. That is not something I have any interest in doing. Nor would I ever have any interest in starting my own micro brand or anything like that. Like maybe I would not mind helping design a watch for a micro brand. But I see what the trials and tribulations of some of the micro brand owners, because I've gotten quite close to some of them in doing this so far. And yeah, that does not seem like a fun thing for me to do personally. But yeah, like I said, if you can do it, more power to you. I mean, maybe that's how I'll have to end up making this a side hustle. I'll have to go the Bark and Jack route and open up a NATO strap store to keep the money coming in. Ideal summer watches under $1,000, Njamba asks. It's funny that you mentioned that, because that is actually if you guys saw my sheet that I have here, my notes on my filming schedule, I actually am going to be doing a video here soon on summer watches that I recommend, summer dive watches that I recommend. So I will give you guys one, and again, it's going to be there. Hopefully next week's video. I'm going to be reviewing the Notice Avalon, and I can promise you that the Avalon is absolutely going to be on that list when I do the summer watch list. So that's probably a video that you guys will. The summer watch list is one that you'll probably see in a couple weeks. But it's one that I already have plans for. But the Notice Avalon will be on there, and I have a couple other ones in mind that I know are going to make the list as well. One of them I reviewed on the channel, so you guys can figure out what that one would be as well. Ricardo says, how long do you take to decide to buy a specific watch? Excellent question as well. So for me, and I think I've talked about this in some videos before, but if not, I'll just kind of expand on it in longer form. When I see a watch that I like, I kind of, I like it enough that I research it right away and kind of see pricing and check out the specs and this, that, or the other. So if I'm like, all right, I might buy this watch, I will usually put it in Watch Recon and set up an alert so that if anyone is posting new sales on Watch You Seek or Reddit or anything like that, that I'll get notified on it. And then I'll take usually 2 to 3 weeks to see if I keep checking on the watch. So if I keep going to seek out Watch You Seek to see if anyone listed it, I'll search old sale listings on Watch You Seek to see kind of what the watch has sold for pre-owned in the past, so that if I'm buying it pre-owned, I know generally what to expect to pay. Or if I'm buying it new, I'll know, generally what my resale value is going to be if for some reason I ever move on from it. And usually what I find is in 2 to 3 weeks, if I'm still doing that regularly, if I'm still doing that, checking on the watch on a daily basis, or, looking up the watch on a even daily or every other day basis, then I know that I've identified a watch that I definitely want to buy. And then from there, it's just waiting until the right deal comes along. So for me, like the C65 Trident GMT is a great example. So when I bought the Notice Avalon from my friend John, he had just bought the Pepsi GMT as well, and he brought it with him when we met up to do the exchange, and we had lunch and all this stuff. And so I got to check it out firsthand for the first time. So I knew right then and there, okay, I'm going to buy this watch one day. 100%. I love this watch. It's fantastic. It's exactly what I thought it was. So I know I'm going to buy this, but I also know, because I've shopped with Christopher Ward before, that they do sales every quarter. Basically, every quarter they do like a big month-long sale where they send out a coupon code where you can get like $125 off of a brand new watch that they sell. So I was just waiting for that. I knew it was coming. I knew the Mark III Tridents were coming out, which released about a month ago now. And I figured they would wait on the sale until the Mark III Tridents came out to help move those. Sure enough, I think beginning of May the coupon code dropped. And then as it happens, when that coupon code came out, I happened to find one on WatchUSeek that was almost brand new that was selling for even like $100 less than I could have gotten it for new from Christopher Ward, even with the coupon code. So that was a perfect, like the stars all aligned for that one. And so I knew that was going to be the one to pull the trigger on. And that's what I ended up doing. So, but yeah, so like I said, it's kind of making sure that I want the watch. And then once I know that I want the watch, it is all about just finding the right deal. And there's so many watches that I've had or that I've had my eye on that don't pass that sniff test. The Mido Ocean Star is a perfect example. I crushed super hard on the Ocean Star for like 2 straight weeks. Like there were 2 weeks where every single day I was going to WatchUSeek looking for the titanium Ocean Star, the orange and black one. And I was going on WatchUSeek every single day. I was scouring Reddit every single day, looking to see if anyone had a pre-owned one, looking to see if there were listings for it. And then for some reason, for 2 weeks, I just stopped looking. And so when I just stopped looking, I was like, oh, well, I guess I didn't really want the Ocean Star after all. And I ended up getting it. And again, that's one of those ones that if I do come across it for a really amazing price, I might pick it up. And then, case in point, one that I did buy on a whim, one that I didn't sit and wait on, was the Bulova Lunar Pilot. So I bought that because I found it for a really good price. I was curious about the watch. I bought it, got it, did the unboxing, and it just never really clicked with me. Like I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't for me. And I knew it within like 2 weeks that it just wasn't for me. So I kept it around long enough to do the review and then flipped it on its way. So, and I don't like to do it that way. Like, even though I have the channel, I don't want to buy watches that I'm going to flip just for the sake of reviewing them. In the long run, that's not a very financially smart thing to do. So yeah, I'm always going to be patient and flipping, just like you said, man, should be an exercise in patience. And it's very easy to collect for quantity over quality. And that's especially true for people that are first starting out. I fought that urge so hard when I first started collecting watches to just get a ton of watches and I could have, I had money to burn, but it just didn't feel right. Like I wanted to take my time, which is hilarious because literally any other hobby that I have with board games, video games, whatever, I'm super impulsive. Like I will buy something. Perfect example. I just bought a freaking Oculus Quest because I came across the opportunity to get one for like $120 off of retail price. And I thought about it for literally a day and then bought it. So like I said, with video games and with board games, I will buy it right away. But for watches, for whatever reason, I always take my time. I always make sure, probably because the dollar amounts are a little bit higher for most watches. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit like if you buy a new watch and you don't click with it and you're losing, a couple $100 or even worse, like $1,000 or more off, right off the top. That's no fun. That's no fun. So yeah, always take patience. Ricardo says he usually takes about a week. And the question to ask yourself is, am I going to sell this watch in 2 months? And that's a good way to go as well. So Pat comes back and asks, do you prefer to wear your watches on a metal band or on straps? He says when he grew up, it seemed like everyone wore their watches on leather straps. So I am very much a leather strap guy in the fall and winter. And I didn't used to be a bracelet guy. Like I usually, especially that first year, I wore most of my watches on NATO straps, and I thought that I didn't like bracelets. Turns out I just don't like bad bracelets. So for some reason, I was getting watches that had really crappy bracelets. And so when I wore them, I was just like, man, this bracelet's kind of crap. I'm going to wear it on an A strap. But since then, I've gotten the Manta or the Manta SkyQuest. The Manta bracelets are the best watch bracelet that I've ever experienced in my life, bar none. And I can't see anything topping it for now. Rolex Oyster Link bracelet be damned. The best bracelet that I've ever seen is on Manta. The new Christopher Ward bracelets on the C65s are really nice as well. And then the H-Link bracelet that comes on the Notice Avalon is also really nice, that I've really been enjoying as well. It's really comfortable, hugs your wrist really nicely. So I've come to appreciate bracelets, but it has to be a really high quality bracelet. Like, for example, the bracelet on my NTH Nakin, I actually don't like very much. And it's funny because those bracelets are not crappy bracelets. Like, they are good quality bracelets. And they do have like the fully, foldable links and all that jazz to make it super comfortable on the wrist. But for whatever reason, that bracelet just has never suited me. So like I said, I'll wear bracelets if it's nice, but mostly during the spring and summertime. Usually, if it's a watch that looks good with a leather strap, once we get to like late fall and wintertime, I'm probably putting it on a leather strap, most likely. Flip and Zippo Fallout 76, man. So Flip and Zippo, I am not a fan of the Fallout franchise at all. Never have been. I played like a good 20 hours of Fallout 3 when that first came out 10 years ago, and it didn't click with me. And so I have a video game podcast that I do called Dense Pixels, which I've been doing for many years. And we ragged on Fallout 76 so hard. And you know what? From what I understand, Bethesda's done a really good job of fixing what was a really awful launch for that game and bringing out a lot of additional content, and making the game much better than it was when it first came out. But man, that was a fun pinata to whack at for the first couple months that game was out, because it seemed for like 2 months there. And Flip it, if you bought the game when it came out, you know what I'm talking about. For like 2 months, they just could not stop tripping over themselves as far as like the wrong move and bad moves that kept happening with that game. So yeah, I've never been a Fallout fan. It's just never clicked with me. I play Destiny a ton. Destiny is my main game that I play. I've been playing Dauntless nonstop for the last 2 weeks. So if you guys are video game players, check out Dauntless. It's free to play. It's really fun. Really good time there. So guys, I would like to keep doing this for like 10 more minutes. So again, if you guys have any other questions that you want to throw my way, I'm really enjoying the discussions that we're having right now. And like I said, I like to try to do about 45 minutes on these. I will tell you guys, again, too, if you are gamers, think about picking up the Oculus Quest. If you've been interested in getting into VR, but you don't want to pay like $600 for the really good VR headsets, or you don't have a PlayStation 4, I've actually been really enjoying this so far. I've had it for about a week. It's one of the better VR experiences that I've had, and it's a solid little headset, a fun little toy to play with. And yes, that's been really fun as well for you video game inclined folks out there. And like I said, games always seem to come up when we do these live streams, because like I said, I talked about the incredible similarities that the watch industry and the game industry tend to overlap. And Java says, have I reviewed any Fliegers? I have not reviewed any proper Fliegers. Like, I've never reviewed any watches that have a proper Flieger style dial. The Damasco DS30 is technically a pilot's watch, so that is not a Flieger, but it falls into the same kind of barrel. Obviously, the SkyQuest is also sort of a pilot's watch as well. I mean, it is a pilot's watch because it's a GMT watch, but no, I've never reviewed a proper Flieger. There's been ones that I've really wanted to check out. I know that the Laco, like the $400 range Laco Flieger watches, seem really nice, but Laco, in that price range, does one of my deal breakers where they have a watch. The movement is automatic, but it doesn't have hacking or manual wind, which I can't stand if I'm spending, upwards of $300 on a watch. To me, that's kind of inexcusable. So I never did get the Lacos. And Carlo asks Laco or Stova. I would actually prefer Stova because I've checked out their watches in person. They were at Wind Up last year. And so their watches are really cool, but they're more than I want to pay right now for those watches. So Stova is one of those watches that I'll see them on Reddit and I'll see what people are offering them for pre-owned, and I could see myself maybe buying a used one day at some point. But for right now, it's just not really a style of watch that I've really pursued too much. I will tell you the one Laco that I really did want for a while is they had the B-type Flieger that had the PVD case and all the markings on the watch were orange, and I thought that was really cool looking. I know Mark at Long Island Watch had that watch in stock for a while, and then it eventually sold out. So I missed the boat on that one. That might have been a cool one to pick up, but it's something I've looked at but just have never done. Flip asks, what other channels do I follow, and did I check out Teddy Baldesser's video with Jean-Claude Biver today, or Biver, I don't know how it's pronounced. So there's a few watch channels that I follow. Let me actually just pull up my phone and I'll pull up YouTube and I'll see which ones are on the list, and we'll just go down that way. So first and foremost for me, Urban Gentry is the reason that I'm here. He was the first guy whose channel that I really caught on to and kind of fell down the rabbit hole with. And I know Tristiano gets a lot of shit from people sometimes. And you can love him or hate him. He seems to be a pretty polarizing figure. I think his work is pretty good. And he helped introduce me to a lot of watches that I'd never seen before through following his channel. So his is the first one. Obviously, watch with us. If you don't subscribe to Watch With Us, make sure that you go subscribe to that as well. I think Bark and Jack does excellent work. His watches his videos are usually must watch for me. Take Time, Pat Marlett's channel, also excellent. I really like his review style that he does. I've actually tried to not straight up rip off, but his reviews have influenced my reviews probably more than any other YouTuber out there in terms of the kind of stuff that he does. Average Brothers, also an excellent channel. Random Rob has an excellent channel that I like to follow. Watchfinder is an interesting channel because you get to see a lot of cool stuff on there. Their presentation is a little highbrow for me, but I enjoy the knowledge that they have, even though they're just trying to sell you stuff that they have in stock at their store. Let's see what else we got here. 555 Gear does good stuff. Time Tellers videos I like sometimes. I have to Jory's videos I have to catch. I'll watch his if it's a topic that I like. I don't watch everything that he puts out, but his videos are pretty good. Long Island Watch, excellent channel, by the way, if you want some of the know-how. Mark's a really smart guy, and he has a lot of knowledge about watches that he's able to deliver in a really effective way. Hodenky stuff is really good, so I like their interviews that they do and their stuff as well. The Casual Watch Reviewer, another good channel. So I'm just going down my YouTube subscriptions now, basically at this point. So that's a pretty good list there. Not to leave anyone out. Like I said, I'm not trying to omit anyone purposefully or not, but those are the ones that I definitely watch the most. Carl says, I find your reviews pretty accurate and fun to watch. Well, thank you, Carlo. I appreciate that. Like I said, it's something I strive for accuracy. I always hate it when, and it doesn't happen often, but I hate it when I get something wrong in a review and then someone comments on it because I'm not upset they caught the mistake. I'm upset that I made the mistake. And I think I've done a pretty good job of not making those mistakes as well. And like I said, and the review process has been an interesting thing to kind of find my style doing it. I know when the channel first came out, my reviews were like 20 to 25 minutes long, and that was way too long for me. I didn't want to do them that long. I think I've gotten them pretty good down to about solid 15 minutes, give or take, without a lot of wasted energy. So guys, again, if you guys, I'll answer one or two more questions before we get out of here, because like I said, I usually try to do 45 minutes. So Jama asks, who would you like to do an interview with? That is one thing I've never really thought about that too much, to be honest. So there's a couple. It's funny because um, there's probably a couple guys I could grab an interview with if I needed to. But it's something I haven't really thought. I will tell you people that I think have really interesting thoughts on the watch industry that I think would be awesome to talk to. I think Chris Vale of NTH is a really fascinating guy. He's a very abrasive guy, but I like Chris a lot, and I think that he comes at this industry, especially the micro brand side, in a very honest way and in a very direct way, which I really appreciate. And he doesn't pull punches, and so he's good to talk to for that kind of stuff. Wes and Cullen from Notice is probably the other one, the other guys that I want to talk to the most. Ever since I've gotten the Avalon, I've kind of gone down like a Notice rabbit hole, and this is something that I'm going to talk about when I review the Avalon. Notice is doing amongst micro brands. Notice is doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I'm just really fascinated by their transparency. So if you guys have never been to Notice's website, they actually have like a blog. They have like a diary of explaining, the design processes behind their specific watches and talking about like how they assemble their watches and do stuff like that, and just kind of having that peek behind the curtain. I've really found fascinating and really insightful. And I don't think they're doing a whole lot different than what a lot of micro brands do. Like, I'm sure a lot of micro brands go through that same process of thought when they're designing their watches, but they're the ones that are sharing the insights. So that, like I said, I'm finding Notice very interesting, a very interesting company to follow. And so talking to Wes and Colin would be an interesting thing to do. I think they'd be a really good interview. So maybe that might be something that I try to get together at some point once I think of good questions to ask them in that kind of a setting. Carlo asks, would you buy a first Omega in space over a classic moon watch? So you'll have to forgive me. I am not too up to date with my Speedmaster references, so I'm going to look them both up and give you my opinion on that real quick. And I will also tell you, Carlo, that if I had my druthers, I would actually buy the Ultraband Speedy over all of them, but I also know that that's going to be super expensive because it was a limited edition. But of all the Speedmasters that are out there, that is the one that I find the most attractive. I'm not really a Speedmaster guy, to be honest with you. So let's see here. So basically, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like the big difference between the two is the Moonwatch is just the coaxial or the bicompax layout, and then the first Omega in space is the tricompax layout. If in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong about that, but it seems like that's the big difference between the two. Because if that is the big difference between the two, I would probably vote for first Omega in space. Oh, they're the same style. Okay. Carl's frantically typing, so I'm gonna let him get his get his in there real quick. Oh, the difference is just the size. So what's the size of the So what are the two sizes then? Because to me that's going to be the big difference. There is the so the hands are slightly different as well. So the first Omega in space has the more triangular hands, correct? And then the Moonwatch just has the stick hands, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Okay, gotcha. So I mean, just based on size, I would probably go first Omega in space. I've really taken a turn to smaller watches lately, which is funny because my wrists are huge. Like I have giant humongous 8-inch wrists. So you think that I'd opt for the bigger watches, but I've actually found the smaller watches to be a little bit more comfortable for me here lately. So like I said, when given the choice between the two, between getting like a near 40 and a 42, I would definitely get the 40 personally, or 39.7 in the case of this. And also the hands on the first Omega Space, I think, are a little bit more interesting than the regular just stick hands that come on the regular Speedy. So personally, that's what I would go with. And yeah, you said 7.5. You know my pain. You know my pain, Carlo, is of always constantly being able to have to suffer to find just the right size watches. But like I said, I will say, and it was the Damasco that did this for me. Even like 38 to 39 actually has been a really good size for me, and I didn't think it would be. I really didn't think it would be. I thought it would look diminutive, and I thought it would look really small. But actually, I found that that's a solid size for me personally. Ryan says the first Omega Space is harder to read. I can see that a little bit between the two. I don't know. I just like the look of the first Omega Space a little bit better from a personal standpoint. And Ricard says, you think you're going to sell the Certina? Well, then, sir, I'm curious to know what other GMTs that you would be looking for. Oh, you want to know what suggestions I have? Okay. So again, the ones that I own are really good. Like I said, I love the Christopher Ward C65 GMT. Like I said, the Mont has been excellent. Pretty much all the GMTs that I've come across that I really, really like, I've ended up buying. I will say, so Zelos just released the Horizon, which is their GMT watch, and I really like the layout of the watch, but the one that Pat Marlett reviewed, the blue one, has this really just like the Horizon branding on the watch is done in this red text, and the red looks completely out of place on the rest of the watch. And for me, that one just sticks out like a sore thumb. I think the other dial options, the other colors, don't have that red text on it. So you might want to check out the Zealous Horizon if you can find it. I think it's like sold out to hell right now, but that might be one to check out as well. Carlo asks, am I still happy with the Christopher Ward? Which Christopher Ward? Because I've had like 3 so far that I've got. So I'm wearing my regular C65 Trident Diver. I have the Trident GMT in the watch box behind me, but I did sell my 360 or my 360. I did sell my C60 Trident GMT that I had last year, like the big one, because it was just a little too big for me. So that one's been that one I got rid of. So that one I didn't care for too much. But the C65 line, like if you're looking at the C65s, okay, so you're looking at the watch that I'm wearing. Then you're looking at the Vintage Diver. The size won't bother you. The size really won't bother you because the lugs aren't really long on it, and they curve pretty well. And I can get wanting it to be a millimeter smaller, but because the bezel is so thin on the watch, it wears it at least to me, it wears smaller than it actually is. The crown being as big as it is also kind of helps offset the width of the watch a little bit as well. So like I said, I think you can get that one, and I think that you'll be okay, especially if you have a bigger wrist. I don't think it's gonna be a problem for you at all. I do think that their C60, their Trident line, is too big, and I'm happy that they went to 42 millimeters with the Mark III for those, and they have a 40 millimeter option now as well. But I still think the case is too chunky, and they didn't change that. So I'm probably going to not worry about that C60 line too much. Ricardo, going back to the GMT, Ricardo said the Breitling Colt was an option, but it's too shiny. Yeah, Breitling doesn't do anything for me personally, especially like 90s Breitling stuff. Like the fonts on them are very era specific and feel, or at least it feels like it is. Like I know I know that I've seen a couple around here and there. Oh, Ricardo. Okay, so this will be the last one that I answered today because this one's interesting. Ricardo asked me, what are my thoughts on the Mechaniche Venziani, the GMT situation? So for those of you that are living under that rock and don't know what we're talking about, so there's a Kickstarter campaign from this company, Mechaniche Venziani, which has been around for a couple watches so far. They're a micro brand based in Italy, if you couldn't tell by the name. And they put out a GMT watch. Now, it's funny that you mentioned this watch specifically. So this was a watch that I thought was really interesting when it was on Kickstarter. I came very close to backing it. And I actually reached out to those guys to see if they could send in like a review prototype or a review model for me to check out. And they couldn't because they like, we don't have review prototypes. I'm like, weird, but okay, but that's fine. So, and I ended up not backing the campaign because I funnily enough, I got the Christopher Ward watch instead. The C60, which I ended up selling anyway. So as it turns out, the campaign has been kind of fraught with a bunch of nonsense because the watches were delayed by several months. The two brothers that run the company have been like kind of incommunicado with people on the Kickstarter comment page. Some people that are getting their watches right now, the quality is iffy on some of them. Some people say they're really nice, but the other folks didn't like it so much. They changed the movement that was in the watch. I think I don't know what they changed from what to what, but they downgraded the movement, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or they changed something with the movement that they made that change after, of course, they had collected the money from the backers as well. And I also feel like that I have I kind of have a unique, I have kind of a unique perspective on this because Kickstarter, though I've never backed a watch on Kickstarter, I have backed a lot of Kickstarter projects because tabletop games are, a lot of them use Kickstarter to get made and that's been a pretty reliable avenue of revenue for a lot of tabletop games. Personally, and I thought about making a video on this. I still might. Personally, I would not buy a watch from Kickstarter. The only way that I would do it is if it was from a company that had a proven track record, that had come out with like 5 or 6 watches at that point that had all been excellent. But then again, if such a company existed, they probably wouldn't be using Kickstarter at that point. I would think they'd have enough revenue coming in to just do regular pre-orders themselves. I would never do Kickstarter personally for a watch. I wouldn't even personally. I don't pre-order watches either. I don't like having my money tied up in a watch that I'm not going to get for several months. This is why I might also never get a Rolex Explorer from a dealer because like they might be like, yeah, pay me now, and when we get the watch, and then we'll get it to you several months from now. So with watches, I'm not comfortable tying up that much money for a long period of time in it. That's number one. Number two, watches can be a volatile situation as far as that goes. So great example is the material changes that I talked about that they made with these GMTs. As a backer, you're screwed. Like when they downgraded them, or when they changed the movement or did whatever they did with movement, if you're a backer, you're stuck in that situation because you can't get your money back unless they decide to refund you. But they can't refund you because they've already bought they've already taken that money to make that watch that you ordered. So unfortunately, and in the watch industry, a lot of times, and I've only gotten insight to this because I've talked to a lot of micro brand makers as well and kind of seen their process a little bit. Changes happen. You have to, like when you go in, like the thing with board games, that when they go to when you have a board game Kickstarter, most of the art is usually finalized. The rules are finalized. The components, what they're going to do with the components, are finalized. They just need the money to get production started. But with a watch company, you have to work with your watchmaker, with the factory that you're using, because most micro brands are obviously outsourcing, the actual production of the watches to Hong Kong or to China. So if the factory can't provide you that movement, or if the factory says, hey, this case design that you guys wanted to do, we can't do that on a mass scale, we have to use this instead, you're stuck. You're screwed. You as a backer, you're going to get stuck with whatever they stick you with. So for me, and Kickstarter is a necessary evil for some companies. Like some people just don't have the capital on hand or have access to the capital to produce a line of watches. So it's there for a reason, and I appreciate it. But me personally could never do it. And this MV situation is a great example as to why I never would. And again, if you want to do and if you want to do Kickstarter, that's fine. And look, I've let some really cool Kickstarters slip me by. The Collins Hyperion, if you guys watched my review of that over on Watch With Us, I really liked that watch. I really liked it a lot, actually. And that actually probably would have been a safer Kickstarter because the watches were some of them were pretty much ready to rock and roll. So that might have been a safe bet. Couldn't do it. Hampton Watches had a Kickstarter recently for their update of their Kraken watch, their dive watch, which was a cracking watch. Not to be silly about it, but I actually backed that one for a couple days before I changed my mind. Couldn't do it. Like I said, I wasn't comfortable kind of floating that money out there. So again, when you go into Kickstarter, just if you ever do back a watch Kickstarter, just do your due diligence. Make sure it's with a company that's been there before. Personally, and again, this might sound rude, I would never back a company's first Kickstarter. Never, ever would. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And I wouldn't recommend doing it either because, again, you just don't know what you're going to get. And especially if it's someone who doesn't have the experience as a watchmaker beforehand to kind of know what to expect, to kind of know where the pitfalls lie, I couldn't recommend doing it at all. So that is it. Ryan says, check out the Orion Calamity. I've seen the Orion watches. They have some cool designs on their site. Thank you about the Avalon and the Manta. I think they're awesome looking as well. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. We've been going for almost an hour. Big thanks to you guys for coming in. Again, these live streams only work when you guys come in and come in and participate and ask questions and kind of lay the groundwork for the discussion. So I really appreciate it. Again, I want to do these once every 2 weeks or so. So if you guys, I'll always send out the advance notice so you guys will see, at least have a little bit of lead time for when it happens. Carl's wife asked, how can I talk about watches for so long? Because we love watches. We love them. That's why we can talk about them for so long. And there's always lots to talk about. Always a ton of stuff to talk about. So again, guys, thank you guys very much. You guys have sufficiently helped me forget about Tottenham Hotspur losing for at least an hour here. So thank you for that as well. Again, thank you guys for coming in and doing the live stream today. I will see you all the next time, and look out next week for the review, hopefully, of the Notice Avalon, which I cannot wait to talk about because it's an amazing watch that I can't wait to heap praise on. So thanks a lot. See you guys later. Have a good one.